Ferrari is in trouble as the USGP has been declared a hot race, McLaren is getting into more trouble as Lando gets involved in a lawsuit, and Hamilton responds to rumors of Horner joining the team. Ferrari's season has been nothing short of a disaster, and now explosive rumors are swirling that could change everything at Maranello. Christian Horner to Ferrari? Fred Vasseur getting the axe? The paddock is buzzing with speculation that could reshape Formula One's most iconic team. Let's dive into what's really happening behind Ferrari's red doors, because the truth might surprise you. Ferrari entered this season with sky-high expectations. After coming within just 14 points of claiming the Constructors' Championship last year, everyone thought this would be their year. They had Charles Leclerc firing on all cylinders and the biggest signing in recent memory with Lewis Hamilton joining the team. The stage was set for Ferrari's triumphant return to glory. Instead, we're 18 races into the season and Ferrari hasn't won a single Grand Prix, not one. The SF25 car has been plagued by fundamental issues, particularly with ride height problems that have crippled their performance all year long. The situation became truly embarrassing when Hamilton was disqualified from the Chinese Grand Prix early in the season due to excessive skid block wear. This forced Ferrari to raise their car's ride height, sacrificing precious performance just to keep their drivers legal. Imagine signing the sport's most successful driver, only to hand him a car that can't even finish races properly. As Ferrari's struggles mounted, whispers began circulating through the Italian media. By the time we reached the Canadian Grand Prix in June, reports emerged claiming that Fred Vasseur's position as team principal was under serious threat. The man who had been tasked with leading Ferrari back to championship glory was suddenly facing questions about his future. The names being floated as potential replacements were fascinating. Christian Horner, who was still running Red Bull at the time, topped the list. Also mentioned was Antonello Coletta, who heads Ferrari's incredibly successful World Endurance Championship program. These weren't random suggestions either. There was substance behind the speculation. Here's where things get really interesting. According to insider sources, Ferrari actually approached Christian Horner about the possibility of joining them before his dramatic exit from Red Bull. Think about that for a moment. While Horner was still the most successful team principal in recent Formula One history, Ferrari was already making moves behind the scenes. Ferrari tried to calm the storm by announcing that Vasseur had signed a multi-year contract extension right before the Hungarian Grand Prix in July. Benedetto Vigna, Ferrari's chief executive, issued a statement expressing complete trust in Vasseur's leadership. It seemed like the speculation was over. But Ferrari's problems didn't magically disappear after the summer break. The car remained uncompetitive, the wins never came, and the frustration continued building. Recently, German media reports claimed that John Elkann, Ferrari's chairman, was seriously reconsidering Vasseur's position, with Horner once again being mentioned as a potential target. Now here's the crucial update that changes everything. Sources close to the situation are adamant that these rumors about Vasseur's job being in jeopardy are completely unfounded. Despite Ferrari's disappointing season, there's no indication that Vasseur's position is genuinely under threat. This makes sense when you consider the timeline. Ferrari just handed Vasseur a multi-year contract extension mere months ago. They publicly backed him during the most intense period of speculation. Walking away from that commitment so quickly would send terrible signals about Ferrari's stability and decision-making process. Meanwhile, Christian Horner's situation has evolved dramatically. He officially parted ways with Red Bull last month after reaching a massive $100 million settlement. The terms of his departure reportedly allow him to pursue a Formula One return during the 2026 season. But here's the fascinating twist about Horner's future plans. He's not looking for just any team principal role. Sources suggest he's prioritizing opportunities that would give him shareholding or ownership stakes in a Formula One team. He wants more than just a management position. He wants actual ownership. This creates a significant obstacle for any potential Ferrari move. The Italian team is predominantly publicly owned, with about 68% of shares traded publicly. The remainder is split between Exor and Piero Ferrari. Finding space for Horner to acquire meaningful ownership would be incredibly complex, if not impossible. There's another factor working against a potential Horner-Ferrari partnership. Ferrari's notorious hire-and-fire culture is unlikely to appeal to someone seeking long-term stability. Vasseur is actually the fourth person to hold the team principal role since Stefano Domenicali resigned back in 2014. That's not exactly a track record that screams job security. Vasseur himself has been vocal about how damaging these constant rumors have been. He admitted feeling genuinely angry about the speculation during the Canadian Grand Prix, particularly because it created unnecessary distractions for the team. He pointed out how unfair the rumors were to his technical staff, especially Loic Serra, who was criticized despite inheriting a car design that was essentially completed before he even joined Ferrari. The French team principal explained how these rumors create a toxic atmosphere within the organization. In Italy, where Formula One passion runs deeper than anywhere else, media speculation can genuinely impact team morale and performance. The constant noise makes it harder to focus on solving the real technical problems that have plagued Ferrari all season. What's particularly frustrating for Vasseur is how modern media cycles amplify speculation. The pressure to generate clicks and engagement means rumors get repeated and escalated without proper verification. This creates a self-perpetuating cycle where speculation becomes treated as fact, even when there's no substance behind it. So, where does this leave Ferrari moving forward? Despite their disappointing season, it appears Vasseur will continue leading the team's championship aspirations. The focus needs to shift from management changes to addressing the fundamental car problems that have prevented them from winning races. Ferrari's technical team must solve the ride height issues that have hampered the SF25 all season. They need to understand why their car development went wrong and ensure these problems don't carry over into next year's regulations. As for Christian Horner, his Formula One future remains intriguing but uncertain. While a Ferrari move seems unlikely, his desire for ownership stakes opens up interesting possibilities elsewhere on the grid. The 2026 season could bring significant changes to Formula One's landscape, potentially creating opportunities that don't exist today. The bottom line is that Ferrari's problems won't be solved by changing team principles. They need to build a faster, more reliable car that can challenge for victories. Until that happens, the speculation will continue, but Vasseur appears secure in his position to lead that crucial development work. What happens when Formula One's biggest secrets get exposed in a courtroom? Today we're diving into a shocking legal battle that's revealing the hidden costs of getting into F1 and how even McLaren's star driver Lando Norris had to pay his way to the top. Right now, McLaren is locked in a massive legal fight with IndyCar champion Alex Palou, and the courtroom revelations are absolutely mind-blowing. We're talking about a $20 million lawsuit that's exposing the dirty secrets of how drivers really make it to Formula One. And the most shocking part? McLaren CEO Zak Brown just admitted that even their current championship contender Lando Norris had to pay money to join the team. Let me break down this incredible story for you because it changes everything we thought we knew about driver talent versus financial backing in modern Formula One. The whole mess started when Alex Palou, a multiple IndyCar champion, agreed to join McLaren, but then changed his mind and decided to stay with his current team, Chip Ganassi Racing. McLaren is furious and wants $20 million in damages, but here's where it gets really interesting. The courtroom testimony is revealing secrets that McLaren probably never wanted public. During cross-examination in London, Zak Brown made a statement that sent shockwaves through the F1 community. He revealed that, quote, even Lando Norris paid to be part of the F1 team until he got promoted to a full-time race seat in 2019. Think about that for a second. Lando Norris, who we now see battling for race wins and podiums, actually had to pay McLaren for the privilege of being associated with their program. This revelation completely changes how we view driver development in Formula One. Norris joined McLaren's driver development program back in 2017, became their test driver that same year, and worked his way up through reserve driver duties in 2018 before finally landing a full-time seat alongside Carlos Sainz in 2019. All that time. He was apparently paying for the opportunity. But the financial revelations don't stop there. The court documents also show that Japanese driver Ryo Hirakawa paid McLaren a staggering $3.5 million for just 2 previous car tests and 1 practice session during the 2024 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix weekend. That's nearly $2 million per session just to drive an older F1 car and get some practice time. These numbers are absolutely eye-watering and show just how much money flows through Formula One at every level. We're not just talking about the massive budgets for car development and race operations. We're seeing that even getting a foot in the door requires millions of dollars from drivers and their backers. The legal battle itself centers around some fascinating accusations. Palou's legal team argues that McLaren used the promise of a future Formula One opportunity to lure him away from IndyCar. They claim this was the main reason he originally agreed to join McLaren's program. But McLaren completely denies making any such promises about F1 opportunities. Things get even more complex because Palou's representatives are also claiming that McLaren was secretly negotiating with Oscar Piastri while talking to Palou. Remember the whole Piastri saga? McLaren basically poached him from Alpine in one of the most dramatic contract disputes in recent F1 history. Now we're learning this might have been happening simultaneously with the Palou negotiations. What makes this case so significant is how it's pulling back the curtain on Formula One's business practices. For years, fans have debated whether F1 success comes from pure talent or financial backing. This court case is providing concrete evidence that money plays a huge role, even for drivers who eventually prove their worth on track. Look at Lando Norris today. He's fighting for the championship, has multiple race wins under his belt, and is considered one of the most talented drivers on the grid. Yet, even he had to pay his way into the sport initially. This raises serious questions about how many potentially talented drivers never get the chance simply because they don't have the financial resources. The timing of these revelations is particularly interesting given the current state of McLaren. They just secured the Constructors' Championship with 6 races to spare, and both Norris and Piastri are performing at an incredibly high level. McLaren is clearly doing something right with driver development, but the financial requirements are clearly substantial. This case also highlights the complex web of relationships and negotiations that happen behind the scenes in Formula One. While fans see the glamorous racing and dramatic overtakes, there's an entire business ecosystem involving massive financial commitments, legal contracts, and strategic positioning that most people never see. The implications go beyond just McLaren, too. If a team that's currently dominating requires such significant financial contributions from drivers, what does this mean for the sport's accessibility? Are we moving toward a future where only the wealthiest individuals can participate in Formula One, regardless of their natural talent? As this legal battle continues to unfold, we're likely to see more shocking revelations about how Formula One really operates. The Palou versus McLaren case isn't just about one contract dispute. It's exposing the fundamental economics of getting into the world's premier motorsport series. What do you think about these revelations? Does it change how you view driver success in Formula One? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe for more behind-the-scenes F1 content as this story continues to develop. What if I told you that one of Formula One's most promising drivers just revealed something that completely changes how we think about success in the sport? George Russell just dropped some truth bombs that every racing fan needs to hear, and it's not what you'd expect. Picture this. You're a top-tier Formula One driver. Your contract negotiations are dragging on for months, and the entire paddock is speculating about your future. Most drivers would be stressed out of their minds. But George Russell, he's out here saying he never even worried about it. And the reason why will blow your mind. Russell just secured his new multi-year deal with Mercedes, and along with it came some incredibly honest insights about what really drives success in Formula One. But here's where it gets interesting. He's also admitting that his laser focus on performance has led people to completely misunderstand who he is as a person. Let me paint you the full picture of what's really going on here, because this story reveals something profound about the psychology of elite performance that goes way beyond racing. So Russell has been with the Mercedes family for nearly a decade now. Think about that. 10 years of grinding, proving himself, working his way up from the junior categories to becoming a race winner in Formula One. And now, with Lewis Hamilton making his move to Ferrari, Russell finds himself in the perfect position to step up as Mercedes' lead driver. But here's what caught my attention in his recent interview. Russell said something that reveals the mindset of a true champion. He basically said that while everyone else is obsessing over contract negotiations and politics, he's focused on one thing only: being fast. And this singular focus is apparently making people think he's cold or difficult to understand. This is fascinating from a psychological standpoint. Russell is essentially describing what sports psychologists call the champion's mindset, the ability to, block out all external noise and focus purely on performance. But there's a cost to this level of focus, and Russell is acknowledging it openly. He explained that Formula One is ultimately a business, and teams hire drivers for one reason: to go fast. Everything else, in his words, is just noise. This might sound harsh, but it's brutally honest about the reality of professional motorsport. Your personality might get you fans, your media skills might make you popular. But if you can't deliver on track, none of that matters. What's really striking is how Russell describes learning this mentality from being around Lewis Hamilton and team boss Toto Wolff. He's absorbed their winning culture, but he's also developed his own interpretation of what it takes to succeed. And apparently, that interpretation involves such intense focus that people struggle to connect with him personally. This brings up a really interesting question about the price of greatness. How many elite athletes sacrifice their public persona or personal relationships in pursuit of excellence? Russell seems to be saying that he's willing to be misunderstood if it means he can maximize his performance on track. Now, let's talk about timing, because this contract announcement couldn't have come at a better moment. Russell is coming off a brilliant victory in Singapore. He's sitting fourth in the championship standings, and Formula One is about to undergo massive regulation changes for 2026. He's positioning himself perfectly for what could be the most competitive era in recent F1 history. The 2026 regulations are going to shake up the entire grid. New chassis designs, revamped engine specifications, It's essentially going to level the playing field and create opportunities for teams and drivers to leapfrog the current hierarchy. Russell clearly sees this as his moment, and his new Mercedes deal gives him the stability to focus entirely on preparation. But here's what I find most compelling about Russell's approach. He's not getting caught up in the hype about 2026. He's still got 6 races left in 2025, and he's treating each one like it could be championship defining. This present moment focus, while simultaneously preparing for the future, is exactly the kind of mental balance that separates good drivers from great ones. Russell's declaration that he's ready to be champion isn't just confident talk. It's backed up by years of methodical preparation and a mindset that prioritizes performance above everything else. He's learned from one of the greatest drivers of all time in Hamilton. He's got the backing of one of the most successful teams in F1 history, and he's entering his prime years as a competitor. The really interesting part is how Russell views his own personality in all of this. He's essentially saying that his relentless focus on speed has created a public image that doesn't reflect who he really is. But rather than trying to change that perception, he's doubling down on the approach that got him to this level. This raises some fascinating questions about authenticity in professional sports. Is Russell being more authentic by staying true to his performance-focused nature, even if it makes him seem cold? Or would authenticity mean showing more of his personality, even if it potentially distracts from his racing? What's clear is that Russell has made his choice. He's betting everything on his ability to deliver when it matters most, and he's willing to accept being misunderstood as the price of that focus. With Mercedes giving him the tools and the time to prove himself, we're about to find out if this approach can deliver a world championship. The stage is set, the contracts are signed, and one of Formula One's hungriest competitors just told us exactly what we can expect. George Russell isn't just ready to be fast, he's ready to be champion. What happens when Formula One's most promising talent hits a breaking point? Charles Leclerc's relationship with Ferrari is reaching a crossroads that could reshape the entire grid. Picture this. You're 27 years old, you've won 8 Grand Prix races, and you're driving for the most iconic team in Formula One history. Sounds like a dream, right? But for Charles Leclerc, that dream might be turning into a nightmare. After 7 years with Ferrari, the Monegasque driver is facing his most challenging period yet, and the cracks are starting to show. Let me paint you a picture of where we stand today. Leclerc joined Ferrari back in 2019 with sky-high expectations. Everyone thought he'd be the next world champion wearing red. Fast forward to 2025, and while he secured those 8 victories, a championship title remains frustratingly out of reach. The closest he came was 2022, finishing second overall, but even then, a combination of strategic blunders and driver errors left him trailing Max Verstappen by a massive 146 points. But here's where things get really interesting. This current season has been particularly brutal for Leclerc's morale. After finishing 6th at the Singapore Grand Prix, he didn't hold back his feelings. He essentially told the media that Ferrari simply doesn't have the pace to compete with the frontrunners, describing himself and his teammate as mere passengers in their cars, unable to extract any more performance. Now, you might think that's just a frustrated driver venting after a disappointing result, but those comments have reportedly caused serious friction within Ferrari. According to Italian media reports, engineers at Maranello are genuinely angry with Leclerc for his public criticism. Some sources suggest his remarks have painted a discouraging picture of the entire team environment, with tensions rising between different departments. This brings us to the million-dollar question. Could Charles Leclerc actually leave Ferrari? His manager, Nicolas Tot, certainly isn't ruling it out. In a recent interview, Tot made it clear that Leclerc isn't a kid anymore and has been with Ferrari for many seasons without achieving their ultimate goal. He hinted at a very hot driver market ahead, with many drivers waiting to see which teams will be competitive before making their next move. But here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. Enter Mika Häkkinen, the 2-time world champion who knows a thing or two about patience and loyalty paying off. Häkkinen has been vocal about urging Leclerc to stick with Ferrari, drawing parallels to his own career journey with McLaren. Häkkinen's message is simple but powerful. Don't give up. He reminds us that his own path to championship glory wasn't immediate. McLaren's management convinced him to stay patient, telling him to wait while they got all aspects of the team correct. That loyalty and patience ultimately resulted in back-to-back championships in 1998 and 1999. The Finnish legend believes the same approach could work for Leclerc and Ferrari. He's convinced that with time and dedication, Ferrari will eventually provide Leclerc with the tools needed to fight for championships. But timing might be everything here. Here's where things get really exciting. Formula One is about to undergo its biggest regulatory revolution in history. The 2026 season will introduce completely new engines and chassis regulations. The power units will run on a 50-50 split between combustion engine and electrical power, representing a 3 to 100% increase in battery impact compared to current cars. The chassis changes are equally dramatic. We're talking about smaller, lighter, more agile cars with active aerodynamics. This represents a complete reset of the competitive order. Teams that are struggling today could suddenly find themselves at the front, while current frontrunners might face unexpected challenges. Häkkinen emphasizes that experienced designers will be crucial in this new era. Teams with strong technical leadership and deep engineering knowledge will have significant advantages. The cars will be more difficult to drive, requiring drivers to adapt their skills and maintain intense focus to keep their machines on track. This regulatory shakeup could be Ferrari's golden opportunity. The Italian team has incredible technical resources and some of the most experienced designers in the sport. If they can nail the new regulations, Leclerc's patience might finally pay off in spectacular fashion. But there's another player in this drama: Cadillac. The American manufacturer, set to join Formula One, has made their interest in Leclerc crystal clear. Mario Andretti, sitting on Cadillac's board of directors, has openly stated he'd sign Leclerc immediately if the opportunity arose. He's a huge fan of the Monaco driver and believes Leclerc could win championships with the right car. However, Andretti acknowledges that Cadillac needs time to develop into a championship contending team. They're not ready to challenge for titles immediately, requiring a few years to build their infrastructure and performance capabilities. This creates a fascinating strategic dilemma for Leclerc. Does he gamble on Cadillac's long-term potential, or does he heed Häkkinen's advice and remain loyal to Ferrari through this crucial regulatory transition? The stakes couldn't be higher. Formula One's driver market is heating up, with multiple seats potentially available and teams reassessing their lineups. Leclerc's decision could trigger a domino effect throughout the grid, influencing where other top drivers end up. What makes this situation even more compelling is the human element. We're watching a supremely talented driver at a career crossroads, weighing loyalty against ambition, patience against opportunity. It's the kind of high-stakes decision that defines careers and legacies. So what should Charles Leclerc do? The smart money might be on following Häkkinen's advice and staying put. Ferrari's resources, combined with the regulatory reset, could create the perfect storm for championship success. But in Formula One, timing is everything. And sometimes the biggest risk is playing it safe. Whatever Leclerc decides, one thing's certain: his choice will reshape Formula One's landscape for years to come. Did Max Verstappen just issue a Formula One death threat? Okay, maybe that's a bit dramatic, but after what happened in Singapore qualifying, Lando Norris might want to sleep with one eye open. Because when the three-time world champion says something will be remembered, you better believe it's going to hurt where it matters most, on the racetrack. Picture this: you're Max Verstappen, gunning for pole position in Singapore, pushing your Red Bull to the absolute limit. Every tenth of a second matters. You're flying through the final sector when suddenly, boom, you hit a wall of dirty air from your so-called mate, cruising 2 seconds ahead. Your car loses downforce, you lock up the brakes, and there goes your shot at pole. How would you feel? Well, we don't have to wonder, because Max told us exactly how he felt. And it wasn't pretty. The moment Verstappen crossed the line after missing pole by less than 2/10 to George Russell, his race engineer delivered the verdict with surgical precision. Hard luck. But it was Max's response that sent chills through the Formula One paddock. That's what happens when there's a car in front of you, just cruising 2 seconds in front. That's noted. It will be remembered as well. When pressed about who he was referring to, Verstappen's reply was ice cold. Not Oscar. Translation? Your move, Lando. Now here's where this story gets absolutely fascinating. In the world of Formula One, where milliseconds determine millions and championships hang in the balance, memory is everything. Verstappen isn't just some hot-headed rookie making empty threats. He's a calculating champion who's built his reputation on never forgetting and never forgiving when it comes to on-track business. Think about it. This is the same driver who last season didn't hesitate to collide with Norris in Austria rather than give up position. The same competitor who's shown time and again that friendship ends the moment those helmet visors come down. Max Verstappen operates on a simple principle. Respect is earned on the track, and disrespect is repaid with interest. But here's the plot twist that makes this situation absolutely explosive. Norris isn't just fighting for race wins anymore. He's in a genuine title battle with his teammate, Oscar Piastri. The McLaren driver trails Piastri by 22 points heading into the United States Grand Prix, with only 6 races left in the season. Every single point matters now. And guess who could play kingmaker? That's right, Max Verstappen, sitting 41 points behind Norris, but with absolutely nothing to lose. Former Formula One driver Robert Dornbos put it perfectly when he analyzed the situation. While Norris and Verstappen are good friends off the track, they hang out in Monaco. They separate business from pleasure. What happened in Singapore crossed a line. According to Dornbos, Max felt this was intentional, a deliberate attempt to sabotage his qualifying run. Max felt straight away. He saw the Papaya car and he said, "Okay, this is Lando. He basically did this on purpose and I will remember it," Dornbos explained. He said, noted and remembered, which means next time Lando's out qualifying, you better watch out. Now, let's be real here. Was what Norris did actually intentional? Probably not. The McLaren driver was simply finishing his qualifying run and heading to the pits. But in the pressure cooker of Formula One qualifying, where clean air is worth its weight in gold, perception becomes reality. And Verstappen's perception is crystal clear. His friend screwed him over. This creates an absolutely fascinating dynamic heading into the final 6 races of the season. Norris isn't just battling Piastri for the championship anymore. He's got a wounded 3-time world champion in his rearview mirror, with a grudge to settle and nothing to lose. The psychological warfare has already begun. Verstappen's comments weren't just venting frustration. They were a calculated message sent to everyone in the paddock, including Norris. The Dutchman is essentially saying, "I remember what you did, and when the opportunity arises, I'm going to make you pay for it." This situation perfectly encapsulates what makes Formula One so compelling. It's not just about who has the fastest car or the most skill. It's about human nature under extreme pressure. It's about respect, revenge, and the thin line between friendship and competition. For Norris, this adds another layer of complexity to an already challenging championship fight. Not only does he need to outscore his teammate to win the title, but he also has to navigate around a motivated Verstappen who could directly influence the outcome of the championship battle. The beauty of this storyline is that we don't have to wait long to see how it plays out. As the drivers return to action at the Circuit of the Americas, all eyes will be on these two former friends. Will Verstappen play spoiler? Will Norris find himself on the receiving end of some hard but fair racing? Or will the Dutchman's desire for revenge actually backfire and help Piastri instead? One thing's for certain. Max Verstappen doesn't make idle threats, and Lando Norris is about to find out exactly what noted and remembered means in the unforgiving world of Formula One.